Welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. Hope you guys are keeping well. It's just a strange show today, just the two of us, but obviously it's me, Dave, as a party. Alongside me, I think for the first time on the Talking Wolves podcast, it's Mr. Ryan Leister. Ryan, how are you keeping?
I'm really good, Dave. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Good. Now, we had a little chat beforehand, and I think some of that would have, well, some of it was off the record, but some of it would have been good on the pod, but I'm sure we'll get into most of that. We were hoping that Joe Parker from Concept Scouting would have been joining us today, but he's in the back end of France somewhere without the Wi-Fi, so unfortunately can't join us. So just be me and Ryan for this one. Ryan, before we kick off though, we have got some news in regards to the Content Creators Cup, because you've got a team for your podcast, The Wolves Report. Obviously, we've got the Talking Wolves team. That's come around quick. I mean, it's 2 weeks on Saturday, isn't it? No, a week on Saturday.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I mean, the last competitive game of football I played at Molineux was when I was 32. I scored a hat-trick and hung the boots up. I'm now 45. I'm now 45. So it's been a while. So I've been out, I say jogging, it's been more of a heavy walk. So I'll be sitting in the back trying to tidy things up, little sub-appearance here and there. But I've got some good lads around me that I hope can have a bit of fun as well. But obviously we'll all want to win it. But literally, we're doing something really good for the foundation, who are doing some fantastic things in and around Wolverhampton. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a good day. And I'm looking forward to you, Joe, and you guys kicking me.
Is Joe on your team or not?
No, he's been playing some transfer game, because I was like, well, you can't go against Dave. I think he's been waiting for you to sign him and nothing's happened. Is he in your side?
I mentioned it to him. I said, is Ryan signing you up? And he said, I haven't. But he hasn't actually... I've got a group chat with all my team. He's not in it, so I might have to have a word with him. He might be a free agent, mate.
I think he's a free agent. He's not at this stage. He's a free agent. He's not part of my squad. We've not made an approach.
Oh no, I'll have to have a look. Deadline day deal. And we were talking before, and there's quite a few teams in it. WCR, the radio station, got a team, and bearing in mind it's 7-a-side, so a lot of teams have got about 11 lads.
Yeah, we're a squad of 10.
They've got 17 players. So
there's two things with that. That's one, they're raising way loads more money as well, which is fantastic. And equally, that team should be really fit, because if they've got engines like that to keep fit, and apparently they've got some really fit, strong lads in their squad as well. So yeah, they could be the team to watch. If the squad rotation like Chelsea there, that's a big old squad.
Yeah, we're talking to Chelsea. We'll get onto the game. I'll make sure I leave a link, by the way, to the Content Creators Tournament if you want to donate towards the event, or if you want to come as a spectator and watch for the afternoon. Like I said, I think it's the 7th of September. You can do so by leaving a donation and put in that you want some tickets as well. So
yeah, just leave your name on the site just to confirm, so the organisers know who you are when they let you in at Compton.
I think it's a fiver a ticket. So yeah, if you want to get involved, I'll make sure I leave a link in that. But yeah, talking of big squads, talking to Chelsea, Ryan, a disastrous day for Wolves on Sunday. It was finished Wolves 2, Chelsea 6. I was excited about this one, Ryan, because I missed the last home game last year, Palace, so it felt like ages since I'd been to Molineux. And although we lost against Arsenal, it was a fairly spirited performance. And then going into this game, strong team, pretty much full strength with what Gary put out. I was looking forward to it, but first half on its own was absolutely mental. I felt like we had the momentum towards the end of it, but it just had pretty much everything, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the first half, the positives, I actually enjoyed that a lot. I thought there was many positives. I thought going forward, the link between Strand and Cooney was really good. They seemed to connect really well. And I thought Wolves opened the door and opened them up on Chelsea on multiple occasions. So I've got to say, I mean, I may be biased, but I thought Wolves edged that first half. And at the end of the game, I'm not sure there was a 4-goal difference. Wolves obviously capitulated, 2 quick goals, and then they're still chasing the game and you're getting picked off. But there's some huge alarm bells that really should be ringing in Jeff's ears about, well, if you're persisting with 4 at the back, do we need the left back? Do we need the left centre back? Do we need some more ammunition on the other side? I know, I'm not sure about. I've got to be honest, it's not his fault, but I'm not really sure about Wang. But as much as the squad probably isn't right to be competing with the best sides with a back 4. Equally, I think Gary has to take some responsibility for yesterday as well. I love Gary. I like some of the things he's trying. I like what he did last year. Glimpses of him with a strong team against, I mean, some of the best sides we did last year. But I think he was sometimes that, I'm going to say, he was probably a little bit brave. I don't want to say bravery and stupidity, because he's definitely not stupid. He's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. But maybe we're a little bit raw. and a little bit over-eager. I think we had a few warnings in the first half where we could have maybe switched it up to go to a 3 at the back just to measure it a little bit more. But he was brave, he rolled the dice, and it backfired badly.
Yeah, I mean, I said it on my reaction after the game yesterday. I think the wake-up call and that was in the first minute of the game when they won the corner. Madueke, I'm not too sure why Ryan's given him the room that he had. Madueke gets a shot away, and obviously Saar, parries out for the corner, and they score from that resulting corner. So for me, that should have been a wake-up call. Why is Madueke getting that much time and space to even get a shot away? And then set piece right at the back post, which was frustrating. I'm not too sure why Jackson reacted as he did to the South Bank. I don't know if something was said, but he was celebrating quite far away from them, or if he was just reacting to the chants or the booing, after kickoff. But it was mentally, it had a bit of everything. Obviously, but both teams scored, a little bit of feistiness because obviously Cunha's goal, like you mentioned, the combination between those two. Even Larson had a goal, disallowed before.
And we hit the crossbar.
Before his second goal as well. And I think Cunha told basically Jackson to stop talking, and then that caused a bit of. It had the bite that we missed a little bit at Molineux, to be honest. But then the second goal for Chelsea, I mean, there's some question marks on social media about it today. Was the ball rolling or what? But
that was a mind of the pitch. 100% it was rolling.
Yeah, but either way, it's frustrating for Wolves because they've got to be switched on there, and I'm not sure where Jose Sarr is either.
Yeah, I think I am probably clutching at straws a little bit with the rolling ball, but whether I'm clutching at straws or not, those are the rules. Particularly from a goal kick, you can understand sometimes when there's a fast free kick taken in the middle of the pitch when they want to catch teams out. But as a goal kick, your ball has to be stationary. And it wasn't. He just rolled it. He's actually moving in front and it went. Now, I believe there's some twisted rule that you can't bring it back that far with VAR. And again, if you're breaking the rules, I mean, they've had a stinker at Bournemouth yesterday. You've seen that disallowed goal. What is that? And if you can't disallow goals when the goal kick, the ball's rolling along the line, again, it's a big reach that is. I'm not sure how much of an impact it would have in the game. But equally, it's the rules. They were broken and it cost Wolves, but probably not as much as the defending for that goal.
Yeah, I think a couple of the lads were looking at Mosquera. I think he obviously was double, even tripled up on. He possibly could have done a little bit better, but I'm really unsure where Jose Sarr is for that goal. And I think not just that goal, his performance in general, has sort of put a lot bigger question marks on his future. Now, I think there were a lot of people when the Ramsdale rumours initially came out, I was like, nah, I'm happy enough with Sarr. But then I think the sort of percentage of fans happy with Sarr has certainly changed after that performance yesterday. But surely VAR can intervene with things like that. It's just, like I said, it's a basic rule. If the ball's rolling, it's not legal. The goal's not legal regardless.
What's the point of having the technology if there's rules saying you can't go back that far? You either let the referees...
It's the same phase of play, isn't it, surely?
You let the referees ref a game and don't have VAR, or you use it to its full potential. If an illegal error has taken place during the game, and that illegal error is there's a rolling ball and it's blatant, I just don't understand it. Regarding Jose Sarr, if Jose Sarr was a brand new signing and we'd only seen him against Arsenal and against Chelsea, we'd be like, we could have signed a duffer here, because Jose Sarr is a lot better, in my opinion, than them last two appearances. They are,
for sure.
Yeah. His distribution was poor. He came out in no man's land, and he cost the header for Havertz to score. He was beaten at his near post, maybe a little bit blindsided last week. I think he's been beaten 3 times at his near post against Chelsea. He's had he's a 2 or 3 out of 10 to start the season. I know the boys in my group chat really criticise me in terms of I love XG and stats and numbers, and I think it's a good way to gauge games via numbers, and it gives, obviously JP does a lot in terms of scouting, so numbers are important in terms of giving you a metric and an idea and a language everyone's speaking the same in terms of the scouting world. But as I said, I don't think it was a game where Wolves deserved to lose by 4 goals. Yes, they crumbled, but equally Wolves could have probably had 3 goals themselves by half time. So I think the scoreline is a bit flattering, but was more concerned as well as defending was just the way they fell apart. I mean, whether that was bravery, just kept going forward and at it. But a team that spent £1 billion, if you give them the space, they are going to pick you off. Yeah,
I think obviously fans went into that game because, one, we had such good form against Chelsea, but you look at their team individually, they've got some unbelievable talent, and it almost just takes a game for it to click. And they may look back at this game in May next year and think that was the turning point when we beat Wolves, and they could genuinely go on and be a solid top 4 side. I think obviously because we haven't sort of been used to that, Wolves fans went into that game. But certainly at half time, because we had the momentum, obviously after Strand Larsen scored, which is great for him, by the way. Obviously, certainly hope he came out of that one as did Cunha, looking good. I certainly hope that will allow him to have a nice run of goals now. But going into half time, it felt like we had that momentum, Ryan. It felt like we could go into that second half. I had a feeling there'd still be goals in it. But certainly I didn't think Chelsea...
Another 4.
It wouldn't be, another 4. But the frustrating thing for me was the Madueke goal, the first one, and his next 2 were identical. So surely after the first one, you've got to switch on and make sure it doesn't happen again. But I think Ryan was on the other side of the pitch for the second goal. I did feel for him a little bit, but do you blame? I saw some people trying to blame Totti as well. I just don't know what to be honest, I've not watched the highlights back. I don't think I can bear watching them back.
It's an unpleasant watch, but equally, I mean, I always try. I mean, again, the boys in the group chat really take it fun and make. You know what they're doing, but because I'm quite positive, I'll always try and find. It's quite hard to find positive when you've shipped 6. And I think in the forward, I thought the midfield 2 were fine. I thought the forwards were fine, other than Hwang. I thought it was all good. Now, Ain't Nori's been asked. I think we talked about this on one of the spaces. Ain't Nori's been asked to come inside and sort of overloading that area, and then it's obviously if we get caught. So are we blaming Ain't Nori for our position, that when we're attacking, we're asking him to go there to leave him exposed? And are we over trusting Totti? And is Totti getting more grief because he's been exposed because Ain't Nori's been asked to go forward? So the tactics obviously are a big downfall when you're getting smashed 6, but I think they were very, very clinical. They were good and Wolves capitulated, but I would be really concerned about the keeper conceding from his that same position again and again and again. I mean, I saw that the meme with the goalkeeper with it, just the hole there. It just felt like that. Like quite often, you probably see 1 or 2 a weekend beating the keeper from there. You don't see 3 in one game going across. I think 1 deflected off Ain't Nori. That's a little bit unfortunate. You can forgive that, but the other 2 just going across. It's just very hard to stomach. But yeah, it's a massive wake-up call. Gary needs to use it, and so did the board to back the manager.
Yeah, I think Gary knew at the end of the game. He came over almost apologising to the South Bank, and he put a lot of the blame himself in the post-match press conference as well. But that has got to be a wake-up call. We've been... Before this game, we were begging for transfers, and if a 6-2 defeat at home, Jeff Shee was there. I don't know if Guao was there because he normally is there for the first time game, but I've not seen him pictured. But surely when you're putting the season ticket prices up as well, you know that your team, you need to back the team and make sure, especially at Molineux at least, they're putting in competitive performances. And we didn't see that yesterday. And it's sod's law that Madueke had the game that he did, Ryan, because of the comments that he made on social media beforehand. And some Wolves fans laughed at it. I think it's pretty poor taste regardless. I was a little bit wound up when the Chelsea fans were singing about Wolverhampton being a town rather than a city. I don't know why that wound me up more than anything. But it was sod's law he had a game like he did, isn't it?
He's had an unbelievable game. And it just opened up for him. Sometimes the script goes against you, and the pantomime villain won the day. And like when it was Nunes last year, and it didn't. Now, in terms of, I'm sure we'll talk about Neto's celebrations in a bit, but in terms of being in a position of authority and having a little bit of respect, I think, he said like, are they supposed to be from my private account? But equally, I'm not really wanted to be talking about where someone lives. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I've like my nan, my granddad, my dad, Bilston, Wolverhampton. I've got a long history, and it's just disrespectful. It's unnecessary. He's come out, he's apologised, he scored a hat-trick. I'm sure he's not going to really care, but it is what it is, and it says more about him than about us, doesn't it? So
yeah, exactly. And then another talking point as such, João Felix obviously scored the 6th. Pedro Neto coming on at half time and assisted him, and then we saw a little bit of a celebration from Pedro, which I think you tweeted about that, but there were some Wolves fans that were disappointed with that as well. Yeah, I tweeted about it, and I think it very much, I wouldn't say it's split. I think there was probably 80% agreeing with me and 20% not, and that's fine. We're on Twitter's X. It's great to have an opinion, a debate, and we've seen all kinds of things on there today. Never mind just on Saturday, we see all kinds of things every day. But I'd expect better from him, and people say, "Oh, it's his job," and that's fine. I didn't see Jota doing it when he scored for Liverpool. You know what I mean? He didn't. I wouldn't mind if it was like, you know what I mean, that
the goal to get him to win the league, but was it the sixth goal he set up? Yeah, and but you know what? He can do what he wants. He doesn't work for us anymore, and that's fine. I just think it shows a lack of class, and I compared him to Mateus Nunes, and I don't change my mind on that. If class comes in all forms, one's sulked and then one's disrespected afterwards, you're in the same book. I don't care about either, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can certainly see where you're coming from. I think it's the fact that if you've not seen the celebration, he always jumps, but with his legs forward on the teammate, like he doesn't have to do it the way that he did it, and he could almost just walk up to them, give them a simple high five or whatever. But yeah, I think it was for a sixth goal as well. It was a little bit of an overexcited.
Dave, he owes Wolverhampton Wanderers, the fans, and anybody nothing.
Yeah,
but this is a guy that's had multiple injuries, and he's been supported relentlessly. And that's fine. He's putting his body on the line. It's a sport. People get injured more than others. That's fine. So be a bit humble. Have a little bit of respect. Go and do whatever you want to do with Chelsea. That's fine. I just think he crossed the line. Many may disagree, and that's fine. But it said, again, like with Madueke, it says more about Pedro Neto than it does about us.
Definitely a day to forget for Wolves at Molineux. I'm even disappointed, Ryan. The Lemina's goal, that was a cracking finish that Totti was slightly offside for as well. Unbelievable. That just everything went against us yesterday.
Yeah, that was some strike. I mean, I was at the other end. I just think, it had vibes of the West Ham goal last year that was disallowed, even though I think we've had a goal like that allowed this weekend, so they need to make their minds up what the rules are. But we saw with a goal at Bournemouth that coming off above his shirt sleeve that was disallowed. We're still no better off, are we, in terms of officiating VAR, in my opinion. Someone might tell me I'm wrong, I might be. But it's a great hit from Mario. Hard to fault Mario or Joe Gomez. Now, Joe Gomez was determined to deck someone by the end of that game. He was ratting around. I don't know how he didn't get in more trouble than he did. But those two boys are playing for the badge that we love. And regardless of the score, they didn't stop. And I've got time for that. So a lot of those players can come off the pitch with their head held up high. Some of them have been asked things to do they weren't capable of. But the ones I'd call out the most for me would be Jose Sara and Hwang Hee-chan. I'm not going to hang Aït-Nouri out to dry because he's been asked to do with a job, and I'm not going to hang Totti out to dry. Maybe they're not good enough to play those positions, but they're doing the best that they can, whereas I think Sara can do better, and I'm not really sure what Hwang did yesterday.
Yeah, Hwang was almost anonymous. I don't think that's been spoken about enough, to be completely honest. I don't think he was brilliant against Arsenal either. So certainly, I know people are talking about potentially another winger coming in, possibly Rodrigo. I'm surprised Rodrigo Gomez got dropped, to be completely honest, yesterday.
We did
as well.
Arsenal.
Yeah. So, like I said, day to forget certainly, and we look towards Forest now on Saturday. Aaron, do you think? I'm not going to say it's a must-win because obviously it's the third game of the season, but it's an important match for Wolves to try and get some points in, isn't it? But before the international break as well.
Yeah, we've got the cup game. I almost don't really care about the cup game now. I'd like to progress in the cup, but. If we lose at home to Burnley, but we beat Forest, I'm taking that all day because we need to get off the mark. Forest is, again, he's full of pantomime villains. It's the old manager that was sacked. There's Willy Bolly, we know about him from last year. There's the other chap who's not particularly popular. Can't remember what his name is. But yeah, it's a tough game. But I did my Saturday skating and I watched Forest away at Southampton, and equally that we may go on to lose and I might have egg on my face, but there's a football game to be won there. If Wolves perform like they did in the first half, going forward, they're going to score goals and they're going to beat teams this season. We just need to be a little bit less naive and probably know our place in the pecking order when we're taking on the very best teams, because you go gung-ho like that. We didn't go as wild like that against Arsenal, and it was respectable. And at 1-0, we were always in that game. There was a few half chances. I think Cunha should have probably bent it, made the keeper work when he had that left-footed cut, sort of trying to caress it into the corner. But yeah, Forest is massive. It's a big game. I'm touchy about it already because for whatever reason I never cared about Forest, but the whole Gibbs White and some of their fans then, and then there was the Needle. I don't care about Forest, and now all of a sudden I've got a secondary rivalry against Forest and I'm desperate to beat them. So yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, I think you go into the international break as well, and everyone starts looking at the Premier League table and Wolves on 0 points, for argument's sake, with what would be quite a heavy negative goal difference as well. You certainly don't want to be going into that stage next week. But yeah, completely forgot about the Cup. I've got tickets for it as well. Completely forgot about the Cup. But it'd be nice.
It's easy to forget though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it'd be nice. you would assume maybe a rotated team. I think certainly Wolves have got, as a depth options, second choice players. It's quite strong at the moment. So certainly it'll be interesting to see a couple of players if the likes of Guedes, Podence play and so on. But hopefully there'll be opportunities for other players as well to show the fans what they can do. But certainly Forest, a lot of people that have got links with Wolverhampton Wanderers in that team. Hopefully we'll have one or two more through the door. But a huge game. Ryan, I know you're a little pressed for time, so we'll jump on for some questions as well.
Yeah, no problem.
Craig, do you think the 6-2 loss will help, will make Jeff and co realise we need new players, or do they still think what they did if the result never happened? So basically, do you think this result yesterday is going to press them into making more signings before the deadline?
I think there's certainly attention and eyebrows will be raised. I think Jeff's palms will be sweating a bit more, thinking now he's got to spend a bit more money than he originally planned. I know you've put some great tweets out with some info in terms of signings and things. There isn't an excuse, Dave. Wolverhampton Wanderers cannot make £250 million in sales over the last 2 summers, and for 2 consecutive summer windows on the bounce, weaken the starting 11, because it will catch up with you. And the last 2 games, although there has been some positives, it has caught up with us. If you don't reinvest that money, this asset now that's worth, 350, 400 million quid, will soon be worth 100 million quid if it's a championship side. We can't afford to let that happen. He did it before. We got Lopetegui in. We paid a fortune for him. We went big in January. Wolves should not be in that position. They're an established Premier League side. So going back to the question, I digress, I apologise. It has to spend. There's not that Wolves have to spend. They need another forward to play in that wide right position where Hwang apparently was. They need another a left-footed centre back. I think Aït-Nouri will be okay against the lesser teams, but against teams that can pull your pants down good and proper, I think you need a solid left back in there. And I don't mean Totti moving over to left back, who probably is a better defender, and someone else coming in. I mean a proper left back. So for me, it's a minimum of 3 without selling any first team assets.
No, I agree. I think even I didn't dislike the signing for argument's sake of Dara O'Shea. I certainly think he would have been a good squad player, but players like that for me is just if Wolves want to stay at the level they're at, if they want to stand still, they're signing players to almost solidify themselves as a sort of mid to sort of middle of the bottom half sort of team.
Would you say though, Dave? Would you say though that you think now, by the way it's been the last 2 years, that's all that Fosun and Jeff Shearer are interested in is retaining Premier League status? Because I don't see anything that reeks of ambition. They're putting Wolves' tickets are almost on par with Aston Villa, a Champions League team. The Steve Ball stand, he's almost not fit for purpose in terms of comfort for a slightly larger man like me. So it's for what they're spending and what they're selling at the moment. Yeah, it looks like, let's just cut a few corners and we'll just stay up. That's how it feels to me at the moment.
But the comments, even the comments that he's made publicly before, I think this was just before the season tickets, and he was talking about if you're wanting to watch a team that wins trophies, Wolves probably isn't the right team for you.
What kind of message is that? It's honestly, you can believe mistake, but that still pisses me off now. Honestly,
yeah.
You don't. Football is about, as well as time with your mates and your family. As a football fan, you have dreams and ambitions, and one day it'll be your name in the lights, your day in the sun to do something. Don't piss on people's chips. It's your football club. Let them dream. You know what? You might not want to pump hundreds of millions in. That's fine, but at least spend the money that you've recouped from the profit on players and back the manager accordingly. It doesn't have to be ridiculous amounts of money. You just have to replace what you've sold with adequate. If you want to stand still, that's fine, but don't regress. At the moment, Wolves are regressing. Apologies for the language.
Yeah. Don't worry. No, it's as well. Obviously, I think we all know deep down that Fosun, if they really are in the shit, they'll find the money to get us out of it. But, we saw that perfectly with Lopetegui. Of course not. But it will catch up on them. Eventually, there will be a time where, say, for example, this January, we're going at Christmas bottom of the league. I think we're more than good enough to not be in that position, don't get me wrong. But say, we're going at Christmas bottom of the league again, they think, crap, we need to push money in. There's a big chance that we don't, that, the players that they sign, it doesn't work out. And, and they found themselves financially in a much worse position. So that's just, we will get left behind just every season. I think that under Gary O'Neill, and I don't think this is Gary's fault, of course, it was a huge squad depth issue because we didn't reinvest in January as well. It was our lowest Premier League finish, I believe, since we've come back up into the Premier League. So they're sending out all the wrong signals. I think Fosun, so far the slack is quieting down a little bit because, you know, they had all the season to get, but then they jumped on the transfers quite quickly. We got 3 players in very early on, so people were looking forward to it. But certainly on Friday, if not more than 1 or 2 senior signings come in, it's going to be nasty. Social media will be toxic.
Well, I dropped a little tweet out about after the game regarding Jeff Shee. Now, as much as obviously I was pretty angry after the game, and Gary has taken some tactical responsibility. You've given a manager a new contract. I don't know what's been promised him. I'm not privy to that information, but you've asked him to do the same job with. People would say the squad is better. I agree. We have more depth now, and we're more set up if there's injuries. But when you take your best centre back and your best creative forward, probably alongside Cunha, out of the side, you're weakening Wolves. So it's disappointing and it's massively concerning. I think if you offered Jeff 17th every season, he'd take your arm off. I might be wrong, but from the way he's acting as a chairman and the things he's saying, telling us not to get excited, and if Wolves aren't the club for you or whatever, it's a big concern for me. But this is a massive, massive week for Wolves, and it could dictate massively how the season's going to go.
I think we need, if things don't go our way, it's difficult, Ryan, because you really want to be there to support the football team. But ultimately, if you know it's not being run properly, you want, as fans, we need to make noise about that. But it's hard. As fans, we need to try and find that balance of that, so to make sure it doesn't spill onto the football pitch, because if the toxicity starts now, there's every chance that continues onto the football pitch.
Yeah, I'm really glad you've raised that, because these are 2 separate things. The support, I mean, there was no voices of discontent that I heard anyway after Wolves at full time on Saturday. There were still people applauding, because you could see, despite some of them being really poor, everyone gave absolutely everything. And you can't ask more than that. Some of them might have been tactically naive, asked to do jobs that they couldn't do, managers taking responsibility. Supporting those guys and Gary is a completely different thing to the manager. There's other ways that supporters can show their frustration, and I think that would happen. And if it continues and nothing happens in the window, I think that will happen. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. We saw the noise. Obviously, we spoke about it privately in terms of the season tickets, but I'm struggling for my levels of trust are depleting for the way this football club is being run at the moment from the very top.
Yeah, it's concerning, and I really hope that they can. I just can't understand it if they go into Friday and they haven't used Sunday, for argument's sake, as a wake-up call. I really cannot understand it. And if they don't want to put their money in, they should not be running this football club. I think if they sold it now for 400, 450 million, maybe what they would get, I would assume.
Yeah.
They're going to make their money back for sure. But obviously they've got all their bolt-ons of the esports and the Wolves records. Obviously that would make it a complicated deal and whatnot. But if they don't want to continue pumping their money in or reinvesting money, they shouldn't be in charge of a Premier League football club.
Absolutely. Now, I've always had this sort of view. If you're an owner of a football club, nobody should expect you to pump in endless amounts of money. But equally, your job your privileged position as a custodian is to look after that football club, because it's just not a normal business. It might be to them, but this is a massive part of your life, my life, JP's life. Everybody, we love our football team, and we want it to be cared about and looked after accordingly. It doesn't feel like that's happening. There's some great people inside Wolverhampton Wanderers, Wolves fans and not, that do a great job. I look to the man to the top and I'm really, really concerned. But we've been talking about this for a while. So, I mean, I know people and social media have voiced their disapproval. Lopetegui's mate in the media has talked about he wasn't so sure about the Wolves owners, and I'm concerned now. I hope though, come 11 o'clock on Friday, I'm scoffing a great big humble pie, liver pie, and you know what? Hands up, Jeff. You've had a good window. Do I believe that will be happening? I think there'll be nothing on my plate at all come Friday night.
Yeah, it's concerning. We're going to the final days of the transfer window and it doesn't sound good. Anyway, Ryan, I know you've got to shoot off, mate, so I'll let you go, but I really appreciate you jumping on
no problem at all.
The Talking Wolves podcast, and hopefully we welcome you on again soon. Do you want to give your podcast and stuff a plug as well before you dip?
Yeah, it's the Wolves Report. We're on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. We're recording this the day before it's been out, so you're probably going to miss the live show, but we always go out live, have some fun, occasionally some good knowledge, a bit of banter. We all love our football team and want to talk about Wolves. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to you kicking me in 2 weeks.
Yeah, fingers well. I hope I don't, but it'd be a good tournament, I'm sure, nonetheless. Don't worry. Nice one, Ryan. I'll catch you soon, man. Thank you.
Cheers, Dave. Thank you.
Cheers. So big thanks to Ryan for jumping on. I will continue the pod because I know it's only been a short one, guys, less than half an hour. But we've had loads of questions, so I'll try and answer them as best as I can. And obviously appreciate you guys listening, whether it's on the YouTube or on the podcast. Ethan has said, how likely do you think it is that Gary O'Neill does the exact same as every other Wolves manager in the last few seasons and abandons the back four due to a lack of financial backing in that area of the pitch? Would you personally change the back three even if we get another centre-back in? It's interesting because obviously after the heavy defeat against Chelsea, this has been quite a popular conversation to be had, and we saw it. Lopetegui tried the back four, but had a back four predominantly, sort of tried a back five here and there. Bruno Lage stuck with the back five as well for a season because he knew it worked. And Gary tried it last year and it worked quite well. He started with the back four, knew it didn't work, went to the back five. So it really wouldn't surprise me. We've certainly still got the players for it, but I think it may well take longer than a year to transition because a back five, really since Nuno, has been sort of embedded into the Wolves players and the Wolves squad. The fullbacks that we've got in, better fullbacks, even including Matt Doherty, Nelson Semedo, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Matt Doherty, are all basically have played their best football as a wing back. So it'll certainly take some getting used to. I thought at Arsenal, although we played the back four, like Ryan said earlier, I don't think we embarrassed ourselves. We held our own. The back four sort of stayed in shape. Whereas against Chelsea, it was all over the place. Disastrous performance. So a new centre-back has to come in. I think Bastien Moypiu, who should come in, will give us 5 centre-backs. We still want a senior one, which makes it 6. Obviously, Santi Boyna might go out on loan if that's the case. So you've still got the 5. I still think, personally, you've still got enough depth to go with the back 5 if you need to. But I'm surprised. I certainly thought we may well see that against the likes of Arsenal and so on. But if we get into the next couple of weeks and Wolves are still pointless, Gary O'Neill might have to press that emergency button and switch to that back 5 again. But I'm surprised because, seriously, we played a back 4, for the majority of the pre-season. So I am surprised that we haven't seen it in glimpses. I know football is completely different now. It's quite fluid. Totti can play in the back 3 and, Lamina could drop into the back 2. So it almost looks like a back 5. But it will be interesting to see if it's the case where, we press that emergency button and things happen. Jonah says, is it worth playing Boubacar with Gomez and Lamina at Forest to help fill the gaps we saw at Chelsea? Again, not a bad comment. Obviously, Boubacar is a little bit more of a box-to-box, will add more energy into there. I don't think Bellegarde covered himself in glory, although he was a big part of the first goal for Wolves. Boubacar has been linked with a move away to Feyenoord today. I'm not too sure whether Wolves will entertain that, but certainly it'll be interesting because you go into that Forest game and think, really, we should go out and play attacking football because we've got every chance that we can go and win that game. But ultimately, you want to make sure we don't lose. I think Wolves have got to get some points on the board, whether that is just a point on Saturday, but really need to take the game to Forest. And hasn't really been the best of stomping grounds for us in the last couple of years. So let's wait and see. Yeah, Steve says, is Ryan Aït-Nouri's skill set more suited to an attacking midfield role at the best in tight spaces? He was really exciting playing there in a few games towards the end of last season. Could see him playing an inside right role. Just seems far too laid back and casual to be a Premier League defender. I don't dislike the shout. I thought even he almost played as a number 9 and he was a left winger at Burnley. I think the only thing that concerns me with Ryan's game is his end product. I think we have seen that a little bit, just in front of goal, or I certainly think it should work. Wolves have probably shot themselves in the foot a little bit with the left back situation, and they may, again, this emergency button is getting a battering, but they may press that panic button before the end of the window, and Ryan Aït-Nouri might have that little bit of backup. I certainly like him more as an attacking player. I think his ability on the ball, he's got that flair, he's got that quality. We did see it at times against Arsenal and even at times against Chelsea. Again, like Bellegarde, played a massive part in that first goal. But certainly, if Wolves are going to be sticking with the back 4, he hasn't got that left centre back or that sort of extra man support behind him as such. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him play very, very cautiously against Nottingham Forest on Saturday because he got caught out far too much, and it's uncharacteristic for Ryan. I think, defensively normally he's quite strong, especially against the bigger teams and the stronger and more talented wingers. It's certainly quite rare for Ryan to be dropping those stinkers, to be completely honest. WWFC fan 123, at what point do we begin to question the manager? We understand the transfer situation, but his tactics have been very questionable. This is an interesting point, and I think at the moment you probably get a good 80 to 90% still backing Gary O'Neill, maybe even more than that, to be completely honest. But on paper, well, the facts are that Wolves have only won one game in 14. Look, those games have included Arsenal twice, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea. So there have been some extremely tough games. And you look at the squad depth situation last year. So I think it'd only sort of, in my opinion, be fair to judge it on this season. Certainly, I was hoping that there wasn't going to be some sort of hangover. But if you predicted 0 points from the first two games of Wolves, I don't think many people would have laughed at you, to be completely honest. I think it's much fairer now to judge Gary O'Neill probably in 4 or 5 games' time. You've already got Forest out of the way, Newcastle at home as well. There's some winnable games over the next few weeks or next few game weeks. And I think it'd be much fairer to judge Gary on those, to be completely honest. If we get into sort of mid-October and we're still pointless or really struggling, I think that's where you're well within your rights to start questioning Gary O'Neill, of course. But at the moment, I think it'd be very harsh to jump at him. But if we are in a position where we've got to struggle, Wolves have got to make sure that they're proactive with it, and they've given Gary a big contract, and he is very highly rated still. So I have no doubt that he will turn things around, but certainly needs the backing. Matt Hobbs and Gary O'Neill have got their targets lined up. They just need the Jeff Shee upstairs saying yes, let's do it. And at the moment, it sounds like that is not the case. Chubby says, do you think we lack a Martino Neves type midfielder who can dictate the game and find those line breaking passes? Feels like other than Doyle, we have very similar profile midfielders in terms of them being ball winners. I think that's a fair point. And sort of going back to Jonah's point earlier on in regards to Boubacar, I possibly wouldn't be against Tommy Doyle coming in. He had a decent run of form when he got into the team at the start of the year, obviously last season. So I wouldn't be against maybe giving him a go as a third central midfielder ahead of Bellegarde. I don't think you've got masses of sort of energy bursting forward. Lamina can do that role, but for some, Gary O'Neill is preferring him to sit at the moment. But I certainly think Tommy Doyle has got that ability to do that. So I wouldn't be against maybe giving him a go, add that little bit more creativity, give Cunha that free role behind Strand Larson, and obviously Hwang, who sort of Ryan has spoken about earlier on. Question marks over his position in the team. Obviously, Wolves rejected £25 million for Hwang throughout the summer. Be interesting in January to see if people are still talking about that and whether we think that is a little bit of a one that got away. Maybe we should have taken that money, but certainly I don't know. There's lots for Gary O'Neill to look at, and I'm sure against Burnley in the cup as well, there's going to be chances given. I'm sure Tommy Doyle will start. I'm sure Boubacar will start, and if obviously any of those step up to the plate and do the business on Wednesday in the cup, they've got every chance and every right of being potentially in the conversation to be starting for Wolves on Saturday. Amar's Music Show, obviously friend of the pod as well. Since the Chelsea game, what are your thoughts on us potentially signing the Wish version of Matt Cooper, aka Aaron Ramsdale? I'm sure Matt, completely different type of pod today, by the way, obviously, without Matt and George. George's at a wedding. Matt, I'm not too sure what he's doing. He mentioned a photo shoot to me. I'm sure that might be to do with his M. Cooper Bite stuff rather than him having a personal photo shoot. The Aaron Ramsdale conversation is interesting, and it's, as per reports today from the BBC, Wolves are very much locked in talk still with Arsenal about Ramsdale. I think, again, the percentage of people that would have taken Ramsdale has certainly increased after the Chelsea performance for Jose Sarr. I'm still unsure what he did for that second goal. The 4 goals he conceded in the second half. I'm sure, a couple of them for him, not much he can do, but 1 or 2 he should have probably done better with. Just in general, I thought his distribution was poor as well. So I wasn't at that excited by the Ramsdale deal, but I'm certainly warming to it a little bit more. I think a lot of Wolves fans will be warming to it a little bit more. I think the biggest question mark for Wolves fans will be the financial part of this deal, because certainly, Wolves are trying to get him on loan at the moment. It looks like maybe a 20 million, 25 million option at the end of the contract. Wolves fans will be certainly feel that money is potentially better spent elsewhere, although obviously the money probably won't go until next summer. Certainly an area that's not it's not a number one priority right as of right now, but I think Jose Sarr's performance was really poor, and it wasn't fantastic, as we already discussed, against Arsenal as well. James, do you think this defeat against Chelsea was down to shape or mostly due to bad individual errors? I think a little bit of both. There were always going to be teething problems when you switch to a back four. That was always going to be the case. But they got pulled everywhere. It was really poor weather. You know, Jason got pulled out a couple of times, got caught out. Ait-Nouri was just, and I mentioned this on my review. I don't know whether that was the individual, instructions by Gary O'Neill or whether that was just Ryan Ait-Nouri not closing his man down. But it just made it far too easy for Madueke to score that hat trick, to be completely honest. So it's been a bit of a nightmare. But look, I'm going to end the podcast there. I know it's a completely short one today. I do apologise for that. I'm hoping that we'll be back to some sort of normality next week, where we'll be reacting to those games against Burnley and against Nottingham Forest. I'm hoping that we'll be celebrating Wolves into the next round of the Carabao Cup and celebrating the fact that we've got 3 points on the board in the Premier League as well. As always, if you want to catch me on my own socials, it's at Dave as a Party. We are at Talking Wolves everywhere. Be sure to be following us and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are watching here to keep up to date with all the latest Wolves transfer news and business. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, be sure to hit us a 5-star review. Until next time, though, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Fingers crossed it's a win for Wolves and 3 points in the Premier League. And I'll catch you all next time.